On this day in history, November 8th, the Battle of Andrassos marked a decisive moment in Byzantine military history when General Leo Phokas the Younger ambushed the forces of Sayf al-Dawla, the Hamdanid Emir of Aleppo, in a narrow mountain pass in Cappadocia on November 8, 960. The Byzantine army employed brilliant tactics, waiting until the Hamdanid army was stretched thin in the pass before launching a devastating attack that resulted in massive casualties for the Arab forces. This victory effectively ended Hamdanid raids into Byzantine territory and solidified Byzantine control over eastern Anatolia. The Venetian Great Council passed a law requiring all glassmakers to relocate their foundries to the island of Murano on November 8, 1291. The move was officially made to prevent fires in Venice proper and to protect the secrets of Venetian glassmaking techniques. The relocation established Murano as Europe's premier glassmaking center, where master craftsmen were essentially confined to the island under threat of punishment. Hernán Cortés entered the magnificent Aztec capital of Tenochtitlán, where he was warmly received by Emperor Moctezuma II on November 8, 1519. The Aztec ruler welcomed the Spanish conquistador with elaborate ceremonies and valuable gifts, believing him to be possibly connected to their god Quetzalcoatl. This historic meeting would mark the beginning of the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire. The Bodleian Library, one of the oldest libraries in Europe, officially opened its doors to the public on November 8, 1602. The library was founded by Sir Thomas Bodley, who donated his own collection of books and manuscripts to refurbish the university's previous library. This marked the beginning of what would become one of the most important research libraries in the world. The Battle of White Mountain erupted near Prague in a clash between Catholic and Protestant forces on November 8, 1620. The Catholic forces, led by Johann Cercle, Count of Tilly, and Charles de Longueville, Count of Bucquoy, decisively defeated the Protestant army of Frederick V in just 2 hours. The brief but significant battle marked the end of the Bohemian period of the 30 Years' War. The Shunji Emperor ascended to the throne in Beijing, marking a pivotal moment in Chinese history on November 8, 1644. As the first Qing emperor to rule over China proper, his enthronement symbolized the definitive collapse of the Ming dynasty. This historic transition established the Qing dynasty's control over China, beginning a new era that would last until 1912. Charles Edward Stuart, known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, led an ambitious invasion into England with an army of 5,000 Jacobite supporters on November 8, 1745. The invasion was part of his attempt to reclaim the British throne for the House of Stuart. These forces would later face a devastating defeat at the Battle of Culloden, effectively ending the Jacobite cause. The New Orleans General Strike began as a groundbreaking labor action on November 8, 1892. For the first time in American labor history, black and white trade unionists united in a coordinated strike effort. The 4-day strike successfully achieved its goals, marking a significant milestone in American labor relations. Wilhelm Röntgen made a groundbreaking scientific discovery while conducting experiments with electricity in his laboratory on November 8, 1895. During his work with cathode ray tubes, he noticed a mysterious ray that could penetrate solid objects and create images on photographic plates. This accidental discovery of X-rays would revolutionize medical science and earn him the first Nobel Prize in physics. Adolf Hitler led the Nazi Party in an attempted coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch in Munich on November 8, 1923. The failed uprising aimed to seize power from the Weimar Republic by following Mussolini's successful march on Rome. The attempt was quickly suppressed, resulting in Hitler's arrest and subsequent imprisonment, where he would write Mein Kampf. President Franklin D. Roosevelt launched a bold initiative to combat unemployment during the Great Depression on November 8, 1933. The Civil Works Administration was created as part of his New Deal programs to provide immediate work relief. The organization would go on to create jobs for more than 4 million unemployed Americans during its short existence. The Nazi propaganda exhibition Der ewige Jude, The Eternal Jew, opened its doors to the public in Munich on November 8, 1937. The exhibition was designed to promote anti-Semitic ideology through distorted presentations and false claims. This marked one of the most notorious examples of Nazi propaganda efforts to justify their persecution of Jewish people. Georg Elser's carefully planned assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler narrowly failed in Munich on November 8, 1939. The bomb exploded at the perfect location, but just minutes after Hitler had unexpectedly left the beer hall earlier than usual. This marked one of the closest attempts to assassinate Hitler during the Nazi period. U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Russell J. Brown made aviation history during the Korean War on November 8, 1950. While piloting his F-80 Shooting Star, he engaged and successfully shot down 2 North Korean MiG-15s. This encounter marked the first jet-versus-jet aerial combat in military history. The United Kingdom conducted its first successful hydrogen bomb test over Kiritimati in the Pacific on November 8, 1957. The test, codenamed Operation Grapple X, confirmed Britain's status as a thermonuclear power. This achievement marked Britain's entry into the exclusive club of nations possessing hydrogen bomb capability. The 173rd Airborne Brigade encountered fierce resistance during Operation Hump in Vietnam on November 8, 1965. The operation resulted in a major ambush by over 1,200 Viet Cong forces, while simultaneously the 1st Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, engaged in one of their first major battles with the Viet Cong at Gang Toi. These engagements marked significant escalations in both American and Australian involvement in the Vietnam War. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed a landmark piece of sports legislation on November 8, 1966. The law provided an antitrust exemption that allowed the merger of the National Football League and the American Football League. This merger would lead to the creation of the modern NFL structure and the Super Bowl. The Vienna Convention on Road Traffic was signed on November 8, 1968. The international treaty was designed to facilitate international road travel and increase safety through standardized rules. This agreement established uniform traffic regulations that are still followed by many nations today. The revolutionary pay television network Home Box Office, HBO, began broadcasting on November 8, 1972. The network's first program was a hockey game and a film transmitted to 365 subscribers in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. This launch marked the beginning of what would become one of the most influential networks in television history. The kidnappers of John Paul Getty III sent his severed right ear to an Italian newspaper on November 8, 1973. This gruesome delivery, along with a new ransom note, finally convinced his grandfather to negotiate with the kidnappers. The incident resulted in the payment of $2.9 million United States dollars and the teenager's eventual release. Greek archaeologist Manolis Andronikos made a stunning discovery on November 8, 1977. His team unearthed the tomb of Philip II of Macedon, father of Alexander the Great, at Vergina. This find represented one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. The Republican Party achieved a historic victory in the U.S. midterm elections on November 8, 1994. They gained 54 seats in the House and 8 in the Senate, ending 4 decades of Democratic control. This Republican revolution marked a significant shift in American political dynamics. Bruce Miller was murdered at his junkyard near Flint, Michigan on November 8, 1999. His wife Sherry Miller had conspired with her online lover Jerry Cassaday to commit the murder. This case became known as the world's first internet murder, highlighting the emerging role of online relationships in criminal behavior. The United Nations Security Council unanimously approved Resolution 1441 regarding Iraq on November 8, 2002. The resolution demanded that Saddam Hussein provide unrestricted access to UN weapons inspectors. This ultimatum warned of serious consequences if Iraq failed to comply fully with inspection requirements. The asteroid 2005 Yu-55 made an unusually close approach to Earth on November 8, 2011. The space rock passed within 0.85 lunar distances, about 324,600 kilometers, of our planet. This represented the closest known approach by an asteroid of its brightness since 1976. Donald Trump secured a stunning victory in the U.S. presidential election on November 8, 2016. His win over Hillary Clinton, who was the first woman to receive a major party's presidential nomination, defied most pre-election polls and predictions. This historic election marked a significant shift in American politics and sparked intense national debate. Thank you most sincerely for your time and attention. If you found this presentation enlightening, I encourage you to share it with others, express your appreciation with a like, and consider subscribing for future content. I look forward to your company in the next installment.